Hi guys, welcome back. I took a little intermission, a little bit of a holiday, but I am back now from the last little clip that you saw of the Mobius strip, but I did promise you a discussion video, so I will go ahead and do that. So about Mobius strip, that is one of the more bizarre and not straightforward necessarily games that Coda has developed alongside the something about fish something something where the lecturer is super bizarre and we have the Eye of Sauron going on in the background. But the first thing that I wanted to point out is something that, here's the thing, when it comes to writing short stories, books, poetry, creating anything, every brush stroke that you make in a piece of art has to have a purpose. You don't put anything in there that doesn't need to be in there. So my first thought is, why at the beginning of the level did it say to play with your eyes closed? Also, yeah, obviously there is a gateway off in the distance in space coming towards you, and you're about to smash into it, and the only solution is to confront this NPC called Truth. And I think that after thinking it over a bit, really what the end result, the failure of the level, is smashing into the door. So based on that, I think that Davey is really onto something about Coda running out of ideas and literally hitting a wall. Coda even admits that to himself through the player with one of his dialogue choices, that he's just run out of creative ideas, that it doesn't fulfill him anymore. All of that is pretty much obvious from what Coda has created to that point. I'm thinking that what's going on with this door level in space has come about because of a feeling of rejection that Coda felt from the last level, and maybe discouragement because we have that interaction with a person that he admires. Everything goes wrong, nothing is working, and basically the end result is that he's being sectioned off. Is he sectioning himself off? You have the gates coming down that's pushing him further and further away from the stage that he's trying to perform on. And is the stage like the social stage of interacting with people? Was that his attempt of actually having a social interaction, whereas before all of his games are pointing to the fact that he's incapable or very, very wary of any kind of social interaction. But when he did try to have that interaction, he did everything wrong. So those gates came down, he got pushed further and further away, and that led to feelings of rejection and feeling discouraged. And so this is basically the accumulation. He has regressed because of that interaction. So that's what I think that this door is really illustrating here. Basically, this is a result of the previous game. He feels like he has nothing else to contribute. He's lost all his creative energy. The only way to save yourself from hitting that door, and not only do you hit that door in this level, like, that's the end of the level. That's it. You fail. So you fail if you hit that door. The solution is to try to find the truth. Try to seek the truth and actually confront your feelings, which is what he does to the NPC called Truth. He openly admits, I can't do this anymore. It's draining to me. I just don't have any more ideas. Because in reality, that is the next step. So let's go ahead and start the next one, called The Island. We have just blank whiteness here. I can't look around. I can't move. Hello? Aww. This is pretty. Oh, God. Ah, I don't like that. That was awful. Ah! That is so bizarre. See, that's nice and tranquil. That's really nice, peaceful. But that's so creepy. It's so creepy. It's just it's literally warped. Okay, where did this island come from? How do I get out of here? Hello? Is anyone there? Hello, is anyone there? Okay. Oh, other than that horrible, horrible distortion, it's just like... It's like looking at a beautiful painting, and then there's just like a big mar in it. It ruins it. This would otherwise be a really pleasant, surreal, tranquil place, but then you've got that... I don't like it. Is that a person? How lovely! It's been a long time since I talked to anyone. What's wrong? You look lost. I'm completely out of ideas. When I try to create, I feel empty. I have nothing left to give to my work. I think that rather than being choices that you need to make, it's probably all of them are the answer. If you just read the entire thing without being choices, he's literally saying all of that. And we have another opening. Oh man. So with this kind of that musical distortion, it, to me, in the midst of this beauty, serenity, other than that, serenity, surrealism, and tranquility, just being floating in whiteness, not floating in blackness, you could have been, but it's nice. But then you hear that distortion and it feels like cognitive dissonance or cognitive distortion even, and it just feels like despite everything around us, it's reminding you that under the surface is something very, very wrong. Oh no, what's happened? Did something change? There was a machine that kept me going, and it stopped. I'm trying to find this engine that used to protect me, to start it again. Now that is very intriguing. He says that this engine that kept him going, used to protect him. So I'm gonna choose that one. And apparently, every time we answer a question, a new little island opens up. So, oh, disappears. So I think that means we're making progress. When you think about it, he is talking to himself all this time. All this time he's been talking to himself. Everything he's been writing is a part of him to another part of him. Whether it's what he wants to hear or what another part of him believes and he's in conflict with it. So moving from island to island is an illustration of him working through a problem through his own mind, step by step. It really seems like one part of his mind is consoling the other. And that's okay. I think that's better than... Well, I think it's not the worst case scenario. Because when you really feel like you have no one, the only person you can go to is yourself. Wait, you're looking for a machine? I think I know where it is. It isn't far. What? You have to take me to it. I need to see it to know why it stopped. I don't think these are options so far as an entire statement.
If the last game featured Coda talking explicitly about his creative frustrations, this one turns it up to 11. Now, put yourself in my shoes playing this. Here's a friend whose work is exhibiting signs of struggle, frustration, anxiety, depression, even. And yet, still, he keeps making games. He keeps throwing himself into the grinder even when he clearly doesn't have the energy for it anymore. Why? What is it for?
I can take you to it, but there's a problem. It's guarded by a difficult puzzle. If you can help me solve it, we'll find the machine. Deal? And then our options here are deal, or it doesn't matter what I say, does it? We're going to end up there one way or another, right? Well, that is really interesting that 2 out of the 3 options are to go along with what is planned, what he and a potential player, we know there's not going to be a potential player because he didn't share any of these with anyone, but what he's expected to do. He's expected to agree, he's expected to go along with it. And I think this is what he wants to do. Since one part of Coda is consoling the other, that conflicted part of him wants to be consoled. He wants an answer. He wants to believe himself. But on some level, by breaking the 4th wall with that 3rd option, recognizing it really doesn't matter what I say because we're gonna end up there one way or another. I think he's showing a bit of a defeatist attitude, recognizing that he has created this world by and for himself, but not actually really believing it. So we have 2 out of the 3 options playing along. So he is trying, but a fraction of him isn't falling for it. So I'm gonna go with option 3. What? I chose option 3. I chose option 3 and it says deal. So it really didn't matter what we said. He was right. I feel so strongly that a part of him is rebelling against what this environment is trying to do for himself. Either correctly or incorrectly. There is conflict within him. 2/3 of himself want to get better. 1/3 is still resistant. Don't believe it entirely.
From my perspective at the time, and just what I knew of him, this was a result of how isolated he was. He was in his own little bubble, just sitting at his computer all day, not really showing these games to anyone, not releasing them onto the internet, and so he didn't have anyone outside of himself to connect with. He had no outlet to ground himself on.
I think that Davy's right. I think that there is a lot of evidence, so much evidence, that supports the idea that Coda is extremely isolated. Maybe like self-imposed isolation, self-imposed alienation. That he's trying to work this out himself. But he's struggling and he's coming across problems. And because you can't solve everything by yourself, it's not working. It's getting worse. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And Davy realizes this. He realizes that Coda is in trouble. He realizes that Coda is keeping to himself and not reaching out, and he recognizes that Coda needs to. However, their relationship is completely one-sided. So you have maybe communication in one direction from Davy to Coda, but there's not any communication, it seems, from Coda to Davy. Coda is, as Davy says, in his own little bubble, completely cut off. So the only thing that Davy has to go off of is this. So I think what Davy is doing is a really great job. I think he's showing that he's looking for cues. in whatever evidence he has that someone he cares about is in need of help. And when you have someone who can't or won't reach out to others, even though they need it, that person is really at a stalemate. They're on an island, and they need somebody to go to them. And I think it shows that Davy is a really great friend because he recognizes these signs. He recognizes that Coda is reaching out or crying out to himself because he doesn't feel comfortable with reaching out to anybody else. So somebody has got to come to him. Alright, sorry. Hey, perfect. Come along, I'll show it to you. Here's the puzzle. What do you think? Hey, I recognize this. I've solved this puzzle before. This is easy. Ha. Oh, wonderful. Can you tell me how to do it? First, you have to open the door. Okay, now what? Now you have to close the first door.